1.
Hello and welcome everyone. We're so happy you decided to join us. We're going to be sharing with you some information on collaborative activities between adaptive physical education and speech and language pathology. My name is Dr. Rebecca Lytle, and with me today is my colleague, Dr. Jessika Lawrence, and 6 of our exemplary grad students, Kailey Fish, Samantha Sneller, Cheyenne Amaro, Jordan Girola, Alexee Curtis, and Taylor Guy. Today, the agenda, we will be giving you a general overview of this grant project that has helped us to put together this presentation. We will be sharing with you a little bit about interprofessional practice and interprofessional education and collaboration. We'll talk about the benefits of collaborative training and working together, and examples of infusion of adaptive PE and speech and language pathology collaborative activities will be shared with some sample scenarios. The TIER project stands for Training and Interdisciplinary Education and Research, and it is a federally funded grant project by the Office of Special Education Programs out of Washington, D.C. This project is a 5-year grant specifically to train individuals with master's degree in adaptive PE and speech and language pathology. Part of that grant requires that students have some shared activities, shared coursework, and shared field experiences. Students will be present in the program for 2 years. This project, in designing the collaborative project, we looked at what were the content areas within special education that crossed both disciplines. So you can see in the diagram, we have a master's degree in speech and a master's degree in adaptive PE. And in that middle section are the topics that cross between, which include, in our grant, differentiated instruction, collaboration with families and with other colleagues, positive behavioral supports, IEP meetings, RTI and multiple systems of support, assistive technology, transition planning, and cultural competence. So these are the topics that our students are learning together. And today we're going to be sharing with you some of their collaborative activities and collaborative experiences.
Okay, hi, my name is Jessika Lawrence, and I'm faculty in Communication Sciences and Disorders at CSU Chico. And a cornerstone of the TIER project is interprofessional education and interprofessional practice. And although these models of education and service were initiated in the healthcare setting to promote improvement in patient care, school-based research also promotes collaboration and the importance of embedding this model into pre-service training opportunities. In a school setting, an interprofessional practicing team would be the IEP team. And they provide a seamless continuum of student-centered education guided by a core set of shared values, consensus building, mutual respect, and a shared vision. Research around interprofessional education and interprofessional practice states that training in interdisciplinary and interprofessional education is considered best practice for professionals, most effective to model collaborative practice and professional partnership for students in pre-service training programs. So really the message is, if we want to see interprofessional practice out in the field, we need to provide interprofessional education at the pre-service level so we can model what this is going to look like when they become practicing professionals. There are some keys to successful collaborations. So what is found in high functioning and synergetic teams are vital to successful collaborations. And this can be attained when members of the team have some of these bullet points here, including effective communication abilities among team members, parity, which is equal power and value, so that no one person in the team is looked at as having more power than the other, but you truly are functioning as a equal parts to the whole. That you share responsibility and decision making. That you engage in conflict resolution and reflective practices. That you share resources and information. You have mutual trust and respect amongst the people on the team. That you know that you have shared values, you agree on common goals, you have clear roles, and everyone is equally accountable for outcomes. Also important is to have social support, proximity to one another so you can engage with each other, and respect and valuing varying perspectives.
So along with all of those key principles of collaboration is understanding each other's frame of reference. And we all have lenses through which we view the world, which are based on our previous life experiences, the values we grew up with, our current beliefs about life and our culture, and also our training. So you can see in this illustration, the lens through which he's looking as a fly on his glasses. So of course, as he looks at this woman, he's drawing her with a giant fly on her face. So while that may not be what I see when I look at her, it is what he sees when he looks at her. So it's really important that we begin to understand each other's frame of reference as we work together collaboratively. If I understand your perspective better, I'll understand more about what you do and why you value certain things, and it can help us to collaborate better together. Now we're going to share a little bit about how our students are sharing across disciplines. So the speech and language pathologists can support adapted physical education goals in some of the following ways. So they could incorporate movement into a session. For example, they could use first then for activities using throwing and catching or kicking into speech activities, or to refocus with speech. They could use functional gross motor and adaptive PE activities for following directions. They could increase vocabulary related to certain games and activities, or they could provide PE-friendly communication systems, such as a PECS necklace, to help students use language skills during their sessions.
Okay, and on the other side of that coin, APE can support speech and language goals by doing some of the following things. So they can work on building pre-verbal skills like joint attention and turn taking when they're engaging in their adaptive PE activities. They can focus on giving single or multi-step commands depending on what that child is focused on in their goals. Ultimately, what we'd like to see is just providing a language-rich environment, describing what you are doing to allow the child to get a lot of exposure to language. We can also encourage speech from students. So if it's a turn-taking activity, allow them to have some time to use their words and engage in some communication. And then also just practicing teamwork and social communication is a great way to focus on pragmatics. So now we're going to turn it over to the students in our tier project who are going to share some collaborative activities.
Hi, my name is Cheyenne, and I am a student in the master's program for adapted physical education.
Hi, I'm Jordan, and I'm also in the master's program, but for speech language pathology.
So we are first going to start with our scenario. Our scenario, we used a student who is in the district that I work with, and they have delays in communication, pragmatic language, social interaction, and play skills that prevent them from adequately participating in general education activities with peers.
And before we get started on the collaborative technique that we have prepared for the student, we wanted to provide you with a few co-teaching models that would be useful when working with other disciplines with the same student. So the first one is the one teach, one observe model, in which one teacher is directly instructing students while the other observes students for evidence of learning. Next, we have the parallel model, in which each teacher teaches the same information at the same time. The team teach is where both teachers are directly instructing students at the same time, and this is sometimes called tag team teaching. Next is the one teach, one assist, in which one teacher is directly instructing students while the other assists individual students as needed. Second to last, we have station teaching, which is where each teacher teaches a specific part of the content to different groups as they rotate between teachers. And lastly, we have alternative teaching, which is where one teacher teaches the bulk of the students and the other teaches a small group based on need. So again, these are good models to know when working collaboratively with another teacher and the same student. And all models listed could be used appropriately for the specific student in our scenario.
So the next thing we're going to talk about is collaboration and communication between SLP, APE, and all other disciplines. So what this brings is teamwork enhances continuity and communication, which then has consistency over a period of time. You utilize goals across disciplines, making goals practical across all disciplines, not just SLP or APE, but everything as a whole. And then we're looking at the child as a whole, not just APE, SLP, or whatever goal they may have, but we're looking at every goal and how we can try to combine goals and and help them in every single aspect. So I recently reached out to an SLP in my school district to get insight on how I can improve and support my students in APE. She reached out to me and told me to let her know what else we were working on in class, and then she would look at the icons, and that's what we got on this slide. During this slide, this is what I got, which is a visual schedule, and this allows me to use this towards APE goals because the SLP was able to take these icons and that I was working on, such as galloping, jumping, warm-ups, and create this visual schedule. We also were able to create a check-in, like the one that's on the bottom, and these icons are things that are on the student's AAC device, and it's things that I want them to use to check in with me on how they're feeling throughout the day and during the class.
So visual schedules are very important for a variety of reasons, and especially for children on the spectrum. Most children on the spectrum have difficulties with transitions and they learn visually. However, it is important to also note here that visual schedules can be used for all kids, not just ones who have autism spectrum disorder. Visual schedules offer structure, focus, and predictability for students in a visual manner to help children anticipate each activity and to know what to expect next, which also brings the child comfort and lowers their anxiety. The visual schedule we have here also provides excellent targets of speech goals within this APE schedule. So here are some of the ways it does just that. So first and foremost, you could also incorporate speech by asking the student to be their own clinician and give them the responsibility of tracking their progress through activities by manipulating the icons when complete. And this targets executive functioning skills in which the child is being tasked to organize and use memory to know what is next, as well as overall planning skills and understanding. Additionally, this task targets fine motor skills for students, which not only hits on APE goals, but also speech as well. And as you can see here, the image used for the visual schedule are icons from an AAC application, which Cheyenne mentioned earlier. AAC stands for Augmentative and Alternative Communication Device, in which the child uses an assistive device to aid in their communication through the use of symbols like the ones depicted in this visual schedule. And using the same symbols helps to establish continuity and familiarization of their AAC device and increases generalization of familiar communication modalities into their other tasks or classrooms. So overall, visual guides are a great communication tool that has so many great benefits, such as building vocabulary, following directions, learning organizational skills, learning time concepts, sequencing, recognizing text, or like in the case here, recognizing AAC symbols and modifying behavior. And more importantly, it serves as a great way to facilitate collaboration between the SLP and APE teacher who are both working with a student in which speech and physical education can be incorporated.
Hi, I'm Taylor Guy and I'm an APE student.
I'm Alexee Curtis, a master's SLP student.
And we will be sharing with you 2 activities from a 6-week lesson plan we collaborated on last spring. So for our student, we work with a preschool age student who currently uses an AAC. They're showing difficulties in expressive and pragmatic language and delays in motor development.
For this particular individual, we were planning on using parallel teaching because we were going to be working on the same activity, but approaching it slightly different based on what we were going to be targeting in each of our goals. And it was important for us to know this because if we were going to be doing individual sessions with this child, we could see how generalization could occur in both of the settings. And as the SLP, my knowledge of those motor goals can allow us to do different activities within our speech sessions, such as stations and focusing on walking or using those motor skills to go from one station to the next. And for Taylor, being APE, being aware of the things that are being targeted with my SLP goals, such as using the AAC device in different settings, she has the opportunity to allow this individual to communicate with her AAC device in different situations, allowing for generalization of use.
Okay, so for our first activity, we did tossing a ball into a hula hoop and identifying colors. So 3 hula hoops will be set up as targets with poly spots 2 feet away to mark where the student will stand. At each hula hoop, there will be 2 sets of different colored yarn balls, red, blue, purple, orange, yellow, green. While standing on the poly spot, the APE specialist will ask the student which color ball they would like to use first. Then, with the help of the SLP, the student will use their AAC device to answer the question. And then from there, we would toss the yarn ball. And we would repeat this process when all the colors are finished at each hula hoop. So continue. The benefits of this activity. So this activity can be done using parallel teaching, as Alexee mentioned before, and it can be used in our separate sessions. So if I was just working with a student in an APE setting, I can do the same activity, still hit those goals, and the same for Alexee in an SLP situation. Like I said, both goals are being addressed. Providing choices increases the student autonomy, and then their use of their AAC in a structured setting increases the generalization of using it at home.
Okay, and then the second activity we were going to be doing was song-based. So we decided on head, shoulders, knees, and toes because there's motor movements that go along with it, along with a lot of language and labeling the different body parts, and that can also target categorization. So this would be working on the receptive language, understanding what we're asking of them, expressive language, being able to label the different body parts, and the motions of the songs. And this would also give us an opportunity to pause the song at different parts, ask clarifying questions, and then eventually sing the song together with the individual on the AAC device. So as we would listen, we could pause it and I could point to my shoulders and I could ask, what is this? And then they could respond on their AAC device with shoulders, or it can be the other way around. You can ask them, where is your toes? And the individual would then need to point to their toes, targeting those different aspects of language. And then as the individual became more familiar with the vocabulary and where the icons were on their device, they could then use the icons to sing along with the APE teacher and the SLP teacher. And I have a picture of what that might look like on the next slide. And then to incorporate motor goals in a broader sense, you can also have little pictures of the different body parts hidden around the room and go on a scavenger hunt and build a little person and identify their head, shoulders, knees, and toes. And then if we go to the next slide, this is just an example of what an individual's device may look like. And this is just a body part screen. So the individual would just tap on the icon related to the song. And then the following song would be a printout that the SLP teacher could provide to the AP teacher if they weren't in the same context, but it just has the entire song written out in the icon, so it's also familiar to the individual. And another way that we can collaborate is in this situation is having the print out of all of the different icon pages that the APE teacher may have access to and putting them on like a binder ring, and the APE teacher can put it on their belt or something so that the APE teacher can also have access to it if the individual doesn't have their device in PE, because we want to make sure they have their communication at all times.
Hi, I'm Kailey, and I am the SLP student in our group.
And I'm Sam, and I'm the APE student in this group.
So for our scenario, we have a child who is experiencing motor delays relating to contralateral and sequential movements. They have APE goals for throwing and kicking, and the child also has a phonological process disorder and expressive language delays. So the first activity we are going to use to address this is a basic throwing activity where we have 2 hula hoops, and they're used for the throwing targets. And each hoop is labeled with a sound that's part of a minimal pair speech target. So the child will be given 2 words and asked to throw a beanbag or a ball into the corresponding hoop. For example, K for key and T for tea. They use the APE instructed throwing technique after correctly producing the target words. So this is a really general structure, and it can be adapted to fit many goals. You can use language goals to label each hoop, such as same and different or big and small. You can have the child practice other local motor skills when retrieving the beanbags or the ball from the hoop, like galloping to the hoops and skipping back. And the benefits of this are that both the APE and SLP targets reinforce each other. The reward for a correct speech is APE practice, so that maximizes the session productivity. And then the SLP goals are used in a more natural play setting rather than just in the therapy room, and they're reinforced by a different adult in a new environment.
The second activity that we have is regarded to their goals for kicking. So the 2 students that are working on this activity would be paired together, and they would pick a category, or the clinician would pick a category for them, such as fruit, color, shape. And the students would pass a ball back and forth with their feet and say as many words from that category with each other as they can. So they would kick to one partner, banana, kick to the other partner, apple, and they would try to keep going to reach as many words in that category as they can. So some other ways to use this activity are to give a children a word and then have them describe it each turn. You can also use this activity with any of the categories that you want your students to be working on. You can also have, well, the benefits of doing this together are that the 2 kids work together to achieve the goal at the same time. So it's teamwork, pragmatics, it's practicing turn taking and joint attention, like Jessika mentioned from before. It's also repetitive practice through cooperative learning for both disciplines. They're practicing speech and APE together at the same time in the activity, and they're each relying on each other's skill set in that area to keep progressing through the activity. This is just a really quick GIF video of how it could look, just 2 people passing back and forth. If there was sound, you would hear us saying the fruits with each other. One of us would say cherries, then pass, and the other one would say grapes, then pass.
So thank you all for sharing those great examples. And now we would like to just briefly share with you some of the feedback from our first year on this grant. So the students that presented today are halfway through their 2nd year. They'll all be finishing in May and will be ready for new jobs. Those that haven't already gotten jobs, some of them are already hired even though they're not done yet. And so every semester we collect a lot of data about what's going well with the program and what things we need to change or work on. And we have asked them consistently, what have been some of the best things about this project that have been helpful for you so that we can continue doing them. And these are the examples that they shared.
So having the opportunity to observe each other in our various field placements helped me to understand similarities across disciplines, such as writing goals and the different approaches incorporated into sessions.
Working on case studies together helped us to idealize or work together on what potential issues we might have and how each one of us could reinforce each other's service with this particular student in this case.
And then observing the other discipline really helped us gain a deeper understanding of that discipline and how we as APE or us as SLP can collaborate in that.
And then we also heard a lot about each other's experiences, which is really helpful because in your field placements, you don't necessarily get to experience working with all of the populations. So hearing about the different experiences and how we can work together really helps us to prepare for what we could be working with in the future.
And finally, as we all enter the professional field next year, we're going to know that there's other professionals to collaborate with when we're the only one in our discipline, in our county and district. We have the confidence to reach across disciplines and collaborate with others.
And one more we had was practicing across disciplines with peers. And that has really helped me just being in the field and knowing what SLP is and what they're doing and being able to help my students who have SLP as a goal and how I can help them and what activities I can do to combine APE and SLP in their goals.
And with that, we would like to thank all of you for being at our session, and we would like to open it up now for any ideas you might have, thoughts you might have, questions. I'm sure many of you are working collaboratively across disciplines now, and you might like to share some of those thoughts or any questions you have for our grad students about their experiences. Thank you very much.